the port at Duluth could boast of being one of the largest in the United States. This demand necessitated the designing and building of larger, stronger vessels. Schooners and wooden freighters, once dominant in shipping, gave way to steel boats, which at the time of their launching seemed indestructible. The occasionally violent weather, churning up gigantic seas, turned out to be a serious challenge, especially in the month of November, when blasts of cold Arctic air collided with water yet to be cooled from summer. Some of the lake had yet to be charted, and groundings were not uncommon. As lake traffic increased, so did the number of accidents. The lake, as those who sailed it learned, could be both welcoming and hazardous. This is my 6th book about Great Lakes shipwrecks. Mighty Fitz is an account of the loss of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and The Trial of the Edmund Fitzgerald, a companion volume, contains documents related to the sinking, plus a lengthy oral history drawn from the Coast Guard hearings conducted immediately following the loss. Wreck of the Carl D. tells the story of the Carl D. Bradley, a gigantic limestone carrier that broke in two during a fierce November storm on Lake Michigan in 1958. 4 men managed to escape to a life raft. 2 survived the night, braving heavy seas and hypothermia-inducing conditions. The Daniel J. Morrell, an ore carrier, broke in two and sank on Lake Huron under similar circumstances in 1966. Torn in Two is an account of the tragedy in which 4 men climbed aboard a life raft and tried to survive frigid and stormy weather. 1 man survived, but only after clinging to the raft wearing just a peacoat and undershorts for 37 hours. November's Fury, the story of the great hurricane hitting the lakes in 1913, involved many boats on all 5 lakes, all battling what is universally agreed to be the worst storm ever to hit the lakes, claiming more lives and vessels than seemed possible. Each tale of an individual boat is self-contained, yet each is part of a much larger story. Each of these books has an essential individual theme that I hadn't considered when I embarked on my research, a theme that acted like the keel of a vessel, the backbone on which everything else was built. Mighty Fitz, for instance, is a Great Lakes mystery. No one will ever know for certain why or how she went down. This became evident as can be in the trial of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Wreck of the Carl D. is a heartbreaking account of the small town of Rogers City, Michigan, which bore incredible suffering and loss. It seemed that everyone in the town was related to or knew one or more of the shipwreck's victims. Torn in Two is about survival under impossible circumstances and the price extracted from a sole survivor. Finally, November's Fury addresses more than a single storm. It studies the destructive forces of nature and how it possesses the ability, to quote Gordon Lightfoot, to turn minutes to hours. Anyone who has ever been in a wreck and survived will tell you that time freezes when you are struggling to live. To me, those themes had the power to drive the story forward. I didn't plan it that way. They simply presented themselves as the research and writing advanced. This book is different. There is no single major undercurrent of a theme. Perhaps I subconsciously included the important aspects of shipwrecks in the other books, and they are important here. Or maybe a theme hasn't yet occurred to me. I don't know. Maybe the city of Duluth is the undercurrent in this book. Once, second only to New York in handling commercial shipping traffic, Duluth figures one way or another in many of the accidents described here. Its harbor entrance, one of the most beautiful you will find anywhere, could be a challenge to vessels sailing in heavy weather. But as the Thomas Wilson, a whaleback broadsided by another boat, learned at the beginning of the 20th century, it didn't have to be storming for a tragedy to occur. But it isn't just the shipwrecks that make Duluth memorable. Commercial shipping contributed to the city's exponential growth near the turn of the 20th century, and the shores of western Lake Superior, acting as foreground to the hilly northern Minnesota terrain, into which so many homes seem to have been.